everybody, and welcome back to the Inky Thoughts podcast. Today, we are continuing the Tattooed Academics sub-series, and my guest today actually lives up to something a former guest, Leah Elson, mentioned in her episode with what does a scientist actually look like, especially when we think about scientists that works in labs. And my guest today basically looks like the antithesis to what you grew up thinking a scientist might look like. Just like I myself don't look like the tweet-wearing social scientist you might have grown up thinking about when you were younger. My guest today certainly doesn't, sporting both a mohawk and all sorts of piercings and lots of tattoos like myself. And he's also a heavy metal fan and loads more we'll get into. But before I give the whole game away about my dear guest, Robert, will you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, so hi everyone, and thanks Matt for having me on here. Yeah, I'm Robert Schafer. I'm a molecular cell biologist. I work here in Arizona in the lab of Dr. Michael Kruer through U of A and Phoenix Children's Hospital, where I do a lot of research scientists. I'm a research technician, and our research in the lab is focused on pediatric movement disorders and kind of the molecular genetics of some common disorders like cerebral palsy and more rare neurodegenerative disorders such as PCAM, pentatonic kinase neurodegeneration. And my training is I went to ASU, got a degree in neurobiology, several other associate's degrees, and then I kind of settled here in this lab. And I have a particular specialty in super resolution microscopy and just kind of microscopy in general.
I have to stop you there, Robert. You already said several things that my social science brain almost short-circuited listening to. But at least it's that you work with microbiology, right? In layman's terms,
not microbiology, more human cell biology and
oh wow,
human molecular genetics.
Well, that only sounds even more advanced to be
Yeah.
to be honest, and it probably is. I certainly lack the academic know-how to be able to translate much of it, but you have several associate's degrees as well.
Yeah, I got my associates in science. I have associates in arts. I'm an associates in general studies. I got two other educational certificates, kind of. And yeah, when I first started my academic career, I thought I was Superman, and I was trying to do so many just different degrees at the same time, which in hindsight now is kind of a bad move to do.
I mean, I couldn't finish my PhD, so I already find it very impressive that you had several associate's degrees. I had to drop out of my PhD, so all power to you, man.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. When I started at the community college, I was kind of, knocking out my bio classes that I needed to do for my bio degree, and then I was super interested in anthropology also.
Oh, wow.
So I was kind of pursuing that aspect, and then I had a big interest in physics too, and I was kind of trying to pursue that as well. And as time went on, I kind of had to start putting some of that stuff on the back burner and focus more on, my neurobio degree. And I settled on just a minor in anthropology.
Oh, just the minor. Okay, fair enough. Just the minor on the side of anthropology.
I was like three or four classes short of my bachelor's for it, and it just got to the point it was costing too much money. And
well, that's the thing. It's not for free in the UK or the America. Where I'm from in Denmark, that wouldn't cost you anything.
Oh man, see, I wish it was like that here.
But at least the bachelor doesn't cost you anything. A bachelor's degree, undergrad, that doesn't cost you anything. And I haven't checked up, but they are trying to create tuition fee degrees for everything above undergrad, I think. But I'm not sure.
Okay.
So any Danish people listening in, if they are already, do correct me, but don't come for me. let's stay civil. But funny thing you mentioned anthropology with I mean a biology related degree, I would say, but because there are some bioanthropologists. I can't remember if that's the exact term, but like Lynn, who had the Inking of Immunity podcast, which is on hiatus until I don't know when. But it was a really cool podcast they had where they mainly spoke to scientists about tattoo research, and they did a lot of stuff in Polynesia, him and his crew. And I think they're doing
Yeah.
research there right now using this mix of biology, chemistry, and anthropology, researching tattoos. And I probably butchered the sciences they're using other than anthropology, but I'm doing my best here.
Yeah. No, you're right. No, and that's super awesome work. And yeah, anthropology is kind of that big umbrella that
Oh, yes.
encompasses so many different aspects and stuff. And the bioanthropology was part that's something really interested in, and like origins of human evolution and that kind of aspect. But then also you like archaeology and stuff, and
Oh, yeah.
more focused on kind of my interest of it that drew me to is more like shamanic practices and stuff like
Mm.
that. Um, and
You
yeah.
probably should. I should probably send you Lynn's profile at one point because that's one of the things he looks at a lot as well, shamanic practices. Or at least has
Okay,
looked
yeah,
at, I
no,
think.
please do, yeah.
I'll do that after the episode. Okay, that'll be fun taking a break right now just to say. No, but I think there's a. But in your own degrees, did you ever have any curiosity looking into anything regarding tattoos?
Like academically?
Yeah, academically, yeah.
Or um
Research
not
wise,
too much really, other than just kind of the hobby
Mm.
of kind of like the anthropological aspect of it
Yeah,
from
like looking now and then
origins
what
of
what
like
comes
body
out. Yeah.
modification and stuff like
Oh
that,
yeah.
and kind of where those origins came from and then the evolution of
Mm.
it over time,
There's been
because a
a
lot of the
lot
tech,
done about body modifications, especially
yeah, it's
stretching
such
and
an
piercing.
ancient
There's a
practice,
lot of
man.
research done into that. There's a lot being done into tattoos, especially since the 80s as well. But there's a lot of research on stretching and body mods and stuff like that. Not enough by far. Like it would pale in comparison to the amount of research there are in a lot of other fields. But there is some stuff
Right.
out there, and often you sort of when you research tattoos, at least within the social sciences, you sort of have to back it up sometimes with older studies that are just generally about body art because they didn't used to
Right.
specify them sometimes. So they would just be like, oh, let's just lob all this together as one like singular thing where people change their bodies in weird ways and walk
Yeah.
around thinking. And I mean, they're also very heavily negatively biased against all of it. So it all comes across as like, let's look at these weirdos so we can tell them why they're wrong. Like,
Yeah, right.
which I think
Yeah.
might have, now that we're onto it, I think that might have added to why people's idea of scientists for the social sciences are these tweed coat wearing, button up wearing guys, and for the STEM sciences, like Leia was talking about in her episode, of these white men in white lab coats that just look very like clean and like that's it.
Yeah. Very proper and just very
Well, that's the weird thing because it's my sociology brain at least picks up on that when people say looking very proper and they're talking about these clean looking people because there's a social construction that's what's proper to what.
yeah. No, totally. I mean, even shit when I was littler and in my younger days and stuff, I probably would have thought the same. Like, looking at me when I was younger, looking at me now, I would be like, "You're not a scientist, man. Are you kidding
Yeah,
me?"
but
Like,
it's exactly the same. Before I started my undergrad, and I was lucky enough to have a few tattoo professors when I did my undergrad in England. I didn't think it was allowed because Denmark was a lot stricter than England was with regarding this, especially within academia. So I didn't think it was allowed to be tattooed as an academic at all. And then one of my first
right,
professors I had to like guide us, he even guided us on our dissertation writing later on, like the guide generally not our my supervisor for it, but like a general like guide for us to how to do it, manage it. And he had a full Irasumi bodysuit that
oh,
he got
awesome.
done while he was doing his undergrad at Oxford in his youth. Like,
Oh, that's so cool.
mm. He was very cool. He even had a cool name, Neil Sykes. Not to call
Oh.
him out, but I don't even remember if it's correct while I'm thinking about his bodysuit. But at least got a lot of tattoos doing his undergrad in that, and he had what I at least seems to recall being a full bodysuit in Japanese style, which is so cool.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
he loved talking to me because I was the only student because I had a couple of tattoos myself and I had my fascination with it since I was the teen that didn't just go, well, oh, can we see it? Like pull up his sleeve and stuff like that. I just respectfully was like, do you have tattoos, sir? Yeah. Can we talk about this sometime? Yeah, sure, man. Like,
Yeah, right.
it's just that level
Yeah,
of
man.
respect.
Yeah, and that's kind of going off that aspect a little bit. It's some of the I always kind of tell people that because you get a lot of looks when you start, getting
Oh,
giant nose freaking gauges and you're
mm,
covered in tattoos and some people can, kind of be dicks about that, the
oh.
way that other people look at them and
I
stuff.
don't
It's
even
like,
have
dude,
anything as extreme as you.
comes
Even
with
to
the
me, people can
territory.
be.
So like, if you
Yeah.
have a problem with people staring at you or being,
Mm.
I mean, you get that whole grading anyways, but you can't be upset about that because it
No,
kind of
that's
comes
what
with the thing.
that's actually
I
an
always
advice
try
I
to,
often give. I often give that advice to younger people that they need to not start anywhere really visibly because
right.
the thing is they'll get a lot of attention, both positive and negative, and it will all be too much at some points.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
because some days
Especially
you
if you're
just
not
don't
used to
care for it,
dealing with that
and you
too.
gotta develop that skin before you like go like you and get on the head or get on the neck like both of us and stuff like that. Because I don't
Yeah,
mind
yeah.
it now, but if I'd gotten this when I was starting out, I would have been so fucking annoyed with the attention. Like,
Right, right. No, for sure, dude. Because it could be a lot. I mean, every time I go out to the store or gas station, I always get, kind of both sides of it, people like looking and all intrigued about it, and then you get those snarls and stuff. But I always try to come off as positive and just like
yeah,
approachable as I can and kind of help ease some of the other negative people that, kind of, I guess, give that connotation to the non-modified people, like, oh, he must
mm.
be a jerk, or don't
I
ask him
mean,
about that stuff. It's like, oh
don't
yeah,
get
dude,
me.
try to be a super
Don't get
open
me
about
wrong. When I want a seat alone on the train, I'll lean into it. Like,
it. Yeah. Right. I
if I'm
tell in the
having a
group,
bad day and I want that extra space on the train seat, I'll lean into it. I'll look angry as fuck. Like,
right, right. Oh, that's hilarious.
but I'm wondering, man, what came first for you? I don't know. What age did you start your first undergrad degree?
I was like 24, 25 years old when
Oh,
I first started community college.
I started at 20 myself, and I had a couple of tattoos when I started that. Like just two. Like I think just
Okay.
two. No, I had three tattoos when I started my undergrad. What
Yeah,
about you?
I just had this one sleeve kind of started when I
Just
first
this
started.
one
I mainly had
sleeve.
a bunch of I had a lot of piercings, like way
Oh
more than I
right,
have
yeah,
right
yeah, yeah.
now.
That often comes first, I find, for a lot of young people. Like they'll get a couple of tattoos, but piercings they might go nuts with even from an
Yeah.
early
Oh,
age. Yeah.
that's where I started with, man. I remember on my 18th birthday, that was the first thing I did is I went
All
and I
right.
got my labret pierced actually.
All right.
And this is back in like 2002, 2003, and back when, the labrets were a super trendy piercing. And
Yeah.
it was
I
something I
wasn't
always
I
was
wasn't of age, but I
attracted
was old
towards.
enough to notice. Let me tell you.
Right, right. And my parents were super strict about that stuff.
All
I
right.
couldn't get a single tattoo or piercing, wait till you're 18 and do whatever you want, but they didn't really
Mm.
like that stuff. And so, yeah, the day I
Nice,
turned
man.
18, man, that was the first thing I did. I went out, got my labret pierced, and kind of started from there. And then, I did both my eyebrows and then my cheeks and
All right.
started gauging my ears and kind of started from there and then slowly got more into the tattooing stuff.
All right.
But my heavy tattooing, I really didn't start until kind of later on, like,
All right.
my 20s and stuff.
Oh, so you're a
And
bit like Matt. I mean, you're not entirely like Matt, but like Matt, he got a few when he was young, and then he just, went nuts with his bodysuit in his 40s, man.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I got my very first tattoo back up here on the back of my neck, a small little called a unicursal hexagram. And
All right.
that was back when I was 18 too. And then I got a few just small pieces.
All right.
And I kind of waited until, thankfully I waited until I got older and kind of
Yeah.
really thought about
It,
what I was gonna do and
it is
stuff.
more
And
fun when you like have a bit more life and you like think it through. I've not regretted any of mine. I think that's because I've been very patient, like
r-
getting them, just gradually collecting tattoos instead of just like, because I see some young people and they can be really well done, but they just have a full bodysuit by the time they're 23.
yeah, yeah.
And as sexy as that can look, you cannot tell me as a social scientist that knows a little bit about tattoo regret, academically, research speaking, that you might not regret some when you fill up the body that quickly.
Yeah, yeah. And
That's the thing.
cover-ups can get
It's
costly
just the
and
speed
timely.
problem, man. Like, it's not
Yeah, yeah.
like I don't give a shit how much tattoos they get. I love tattooed people. Like anyone should get as many tattoos as visibly as they want, when as long as they just go about it the right way.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, make sure it's what you want and stuff. And I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I mean you could get cover-ups, but I mean there's still, you gotta be kind of careful. And half
Oh
the
yeah.
ideas that I had when I was 18, man, I'm glad I didn't do any of that
What's
stuff.
what's the worst one you had?
Uh, Man, I guess probably at least quality wise, probably my knuckles,
Oh no,
honestly.
I meant the worst
They were
idea
like
you had before you
kind of
turned 18.
garage. No, I have some on the inside of my lip actually too.
Mm.
That one didn't come out as well either. It's actually the Heisenberg uncertainty principle of quantum mechanics, right
That's
on the
the
inside of my lip, and then
that's
I
the
actually on
nerdiest
the
lip tattoo I've ever heard about, man.
and then so and kind of complete. I got the opposite, which is I got F equals ma on the top
Oh,
of my lip. So I kind of you got the Newtonian mechanics and then quantum mechanics on the bottom,
oh.
and but they both came out kind of not too
I mean,
good.
just it's inside the lip. They're not always
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
heal that well. I mean,
right, right.
well, how
Uh,
many? It's kind of fascinating because I think all scientists get this at least partially. Some get only science tattoos. Some get at least a few science tattoos. At least when it comes to STEM scientists, because there's so many
right.
equations and logos and like easy to find like monikers and stuff like that. How many science tattoos do you have?
Quite a few actually. I mean, my whole arm up here is like kind of a space, kind of cosmos theme and stuff. I've always had a lot of fascination in like cosmology and astrophysics. And
Right.
my grandpa was actually a thermodynamic engineer for NASA and JPL. He's worked on a bunch of
Wow.
spacecraft. He worked on Voyager, some of the Mars rovers. Lots of cool crafts. Galileo and Cassini. He was a part of all those. And I grew up with that stuff at a really early age, seeing like all these, fresh off the press photos and stuff that these crafts were taken. And that kind of really sparked my interest in space and astrophysics and stuff. And so a lot of my upper body is a lot of like space theme
All right.
tattoos. But I also got some DNA molecules on my arm and my neck. I got the the time independent Schrodinger equation of quantum mechanics going across my
Fucking hell.
chest.
I'm almost getting a headache
Uh,
listening to this. Like, I get the principle, like, I get the philosophical principle of Schrodinger's cat, but equation-wise, you probably lose me halfway through explaining it.
it's so much complicated mathematics that I'm kind of so far removed from now because I kind of put my physics on the back burner for
All
a
right.
long time now that
Oh yeah,
but
yeah. You're much more chill now with the cellular biology.
yeah, right. uh
That can only sound chill to STEM people doing cellular
yeah,
biology. That makes
right, yeah.
social scientists like me sweat listening to people explain that. Like,
Yeah.
I have enough of an academic grasp that I would grasp it better than the lay person, I like to think, but whew,
Yeah,
I couldn't exactly explain it to somebody else after that. Like,
right, right. No, and that's when I started my career and stuff, I was very interested in physics at first,
hmm.
primarily. And I kind of thought of like the biological science and life science. I kind of had that same view, like, oh shit, all these molecules and all these names and all this stuff, and that's is so hard. But it's kind of a segment, but yeah, I started off kind of going for physics at first, and then
Hmm.
I always had an interest in consciousness and like the
All
brain
right.
and how does consciousness arise in the brain from something that seems to be more than the sum of its parts, and
Hmm.
coming from more of like a quantum mechanical aspect of things arising in the brain. And so that was kind of my interest that segmented me into physics and getting into that, super heavy. And then one day I had a really extraordinary psychedelic experience on DMT, and that experience is really what kind of shifted my interest going from physics into more of like the hardcore neurobiology and biological sciences, and kind of putting that physics off on the back burner and stuff. I still had the
Ah.
interest in it, but I was like, oh man, no, like I'm gonna go pursue the brain in a biological fashion
The
now, I
amount of
think.
epiphanies I've heard STEM scientists talk about came out of an acid trip.
Yeah, it's powerful, man. It's crazy.
I mean,
And I that's
I'm the type of guy. I've never had an interest in doing it. I don't think I ever will, but I absolutely respect and see the allure for other people doing like any type of drug that helps them like figure out more about themselves or what they want to
yeah,
do and stuff
yeah.
like that. Absolutely see the allure in it. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's
Plus, it
it's
seems
awesome
very
stuff,
fitting with
man.
being from Arizona. It seems like something you would do in a desert. Like,
Yeah, right. Especially right now, it's hot, man. It's just been like 115 degrees during the day out
hey,
here.
I'm
It's
dying
brutal.
here, and it's not even that. Like, in Fahrenheit, I'll try and translate it in my head. I think it's in the high 70s, maybe low 80s, and I'm already
Oh
dying
wow.
in the heat. I like Danish people forget how Nordic we are sometimes, even though we're not as north as Sweden or Norway.
Yeah,
Yet we're still so north in the hemisphere that this is really warm to us, and we are a country of like so much water around everywhere you go. So it's
hot,
so
right?
humid all the time.
Yeah.
So 22 degrees here, I swear, feels like 35 in the Mediterranean, man.
Oh man.
Just because of the humidity, man. It's so horrible. But we're
Oh yeah,
digressing.
you add that humidity, it changes the whole game for sure. Like
But
even
you
out
can
here,
tell me
man,
more
during
about
the monsoon season and it rains super
Jeez.
hard, and then it's still like 105 out, and you just combine that humidity, and it's like you're like swimming through the air
Well,
basically, and
let's
it's
move on
so
before I
hot,
start sweating just from talking about this.
right?
I was wondering, actually, you work in a lab now, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I imagine most of
About
your
one of the
colleagues are not as keen on tattoos as you and I are.
Yeah, right. I'm kind of the odd one in my whole building, really.
But
Um,
how do people take that when you work in the lab? I mean, I guess it's not as much of a public speaking role as you might do as in certain social science positions, or if you are, for example, a science educator like Leia is. But I mean, there's still some interaction, at least with other scientists, right?
oh, totally. Yeah, yeah. And I mean, for the most part, my experience has been really awesome.
Mm.
There's a few people that kind of stay weird about it and never kind of break that ease towards me, I always try still, but for the most part, everyone's been super amazing,
Oh, that's good.
and you always get that first initial kind of reaction, like, "Whoa,
Fuck.
what's this guy? What's he
Who brought
doing
their
here?"
son? Like,
You start talking and talk the lingo, and you make them see that you actually know what you're doing, and you know your stuff, and that kind of perception really changes fairly
yeah,
quick and stuff. And even for my lab, I'm so thankful for my lab for everything they've done for me, and especially bringing me in, looking the way that I do.
yeah,
Never once had an issue with me representing the lab at like conferences and giving talks at
that's awesome.
conferences and stuff, or like ground rounds. I've presented at some of the ground rounds at the hospital that my PI let me do and represent him in the lab and stuff. So for Dr. Kruer, he's been just amazing on not holding me back in my academic career just based upon my looks, which I've heard from some other labs can kind of be really strict about that stuff and
When you hear about that,
not
especially
let
with the STEM sciences, you hear a lot about the prejudice still being alive, you know.
it's definitely still prominent and out there, man. I'm really fortunate I didn't have to get a blunt end of that stuff
Mm.
and experience that for on the whole.
Have you
That's
experienced
kind of
it
funny.
previously in your career? Like, have you had some bad experiences with it previously?
I mean, nothing super crazy based on my looks. Some of
Like
the
just
people
the
that don't get over it, I just
usual,
kind of
like,
blow them off and stuff. But even in class and stuff during my undergrads, I'd walk into the class and a lot of eyes would kind of turn and stuff. But again, I was like that sore thumb. Most of the class is all pre-med students and some
mm.
very few like actual scientists, academics, but a lot of them were like pre-meds and stuff like that. Uh, and yeah, I would kind of walk in and that same thing, like, are you in the right class, dude? This is this is blah blah
This isn't
blah.
heavy metal 101, man. Like,
Yeah. And then as a couple days go by and stuff, and you start interacting, everyone's kind of like, "Oh shit, dude,
yeah.
you're really cool, man." And
But I
this
think
is we don't
that
see people like you that often, and yeah,
I always have the feeling that whenever you scientists actually care to move beyond their own sphere and use their curiosity for good in this aspect, because we all have it no matter what science you're in, whether you're in sociology like me or in cellular biology like you or whatever, we have that
right,
innate curiosity. When you use it for good when interacting with somebody like us, often they'll find out who we actually are, that we're all right, and that the tattoos haven't made our IQ slip a point or made us
Yeah, yeah,
become rage monsters or anything like that, you know. But I think find often, no matter the science, that the people that can't grasp that, and I think it is a bit worse in the STEM sciences, just because it's so inherent, you know, deconstructing biases and old prejudices and stigmas within the social sciences. So there's
yeah,
sort of a leg up there. But the people that don't care to challenge those opinions are often the ones that stay sort of prejudiced and stigma towards people like us. Like they're the ones that are like,
yeah,
well, they've
yeah,
chose that, and I'm gonna make that their problem.
yeah, right.
But
No,
but but
totally.
but it's good to hear that in your career at least, because I've had the same feeling myself, and I feel I've been quite fortunate as well. Maybe because I've mainly tried most of my academic career out of the Denmark, where it's a bit more conservative. For example, in
Mhm.
Scotland and England, there's not much of that. Most people are just like, hey, if you know your stuff, we don't really care. But
Yeah, yeah. No,
especially in
totally.
Scotland, was my experience. People can have different experiences. I'm not going to tell you anybody how it is. It's just my experience. Especially in Scotland, they were so open-minded regarding tattoos. They were like, no, that's not going to be a problem. The problem is going to be that if you don't know your shit, like,
Yeah, yeah, right. No, for sure. And it's kind of funny that so when I first started this lab as a volunteer,
mm,
well, yeah, it's a little backstory. I was doing some transmission electron microscopy work and for a class at the university, and I had to present a
sure.
poster and stuff. I did a bunch of mouse brain analysis and like looking at synapses and synaptic vesicles. I was
Uh,
showing all these cool
this I
images.
follow a bit more.
And
The second explanation got I could follow a bit more.
yeah. And so the professor there, she kind of knew I wasn't at a lab at the time. And this was actually a
Oh,
graduate class. Even though I was still an undergrad, I got approval to take this
oh,
class and stuff. So I
wow.
was in a lab
Nice.
where most of these, graduate students, they already have a project for a reason that they're doing TEM for. And I was just kind of like, I just want to learn some cool microscopy and got some mouse brain and stuff. But so she knew I wasn't in a lab, and she knew my mentor, Brendan, sent him an email and was like, hey, I got this awesome student. He doesn't have a lab. He's looking to get into a lab. Heard that you need some help. And so she referred me to Brendan, and he sent me an email and invited me down to the lab to meet and see if I would like to kind of join the lab as a volunteer basis. And so, instead of getting all dressed up for the interview and the lab meeting, I kind of came in on the general lab meeting, so the whole lab was there. And I ended up wearing my Cannibal Corpse shirt, and has the Tomb of the Mutilated on it, the album cover, which is kind of
Fuck it
a
up.
graphic cover a little bit. And I thought about it, I was like, oh, should I do this? But I was like, man, this is what I wear every day. So this is
Mm.
who I am. I might as well just come as me. And
Oh, yeah.
there was a few sides that were kind of like, whoa, dude, like, but then we started talking, and that whole image was gone. And then I've been
Okay.
in the lab ever since. And
That
but
is
it was kind of
fantastic.
funny when I tell people that, I'm like, man, I started my interview wearing Cannibal Corpse shirt. I didn't even dress
That
up.
is, I mean, that is wild to say the least. Like that.
Yeah, yeah. And so again, like I'm so thankful for them that they didn't just see it like this guy covered in piercings and tattoos, Cannibal Corpse, like he
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
take this seriously or something like that. And
But that's the thing.
yeah,
Like,
and
I always like to say it. It's quite a simplistic, like, you could say, metaphor, hypothesis, sort of the hypothetical, so to speak. But the thing is, you can be an asshole without any tattoos. Just
yeah,
as you could be an asshole with tattoos. Same goes for being a good person. The tattoos don't
right,
change who you are. They can give you confidence to be more open with who you are, and they can give you better self-esteem and a better sense of self and more sense of an authentic self. But they don't change your personality. They don't change who
right,
you are as a person.
yeah, yeah,
But
right,
that's the thing. Like a lot of people are like, "Oh, if he has a lot of tattoos, he must be an asshole because he doesn't care what people think." No, you just care too much what people
yeah,
think and think that's
yeah,
how you get by in life,
yeah.
caring what
Oh,
people
totally,
think.
man.
Like, there's so many people, and I'm gonna be. I usually try to be less critical than one of my idols, Jean-Paul Sartre, and a French existential philosopher, which already gives most people a red flag about how critical they can be. But he used to say that a lot of people simply don't care to acknowledge free will or that they can choose to be themselves because it's so scary to be that they would rather be cowards than do what everybody else tells them to do.
Wow.
Yeah. Uh, I don't
Yeah,
necessarily
that's
think that people are cowards, but there are some truths to what he was claiming already back in the fucking, I think it might have been the 30s or 50s or something like that, like
okay. Yeah, yeah.
because there's
No,
something to it.
totally.
Like it is scary to choose to be, even just at my level. It is scary sometimes to be like, well, I'm gonna be myself. There's some people are gonna fucking hate me for that, but that's their choice.
Yeah, right.
And there's something freeing in it, but I at least remember that initial step, even with academia, being like, shit, am I gonna go visible with my tattoos? What are people gonna think? Because you're
Yeah,
scared
yeah.
because you're not gotten anywhere yet. But I just decided that like I don't care if I never get anywhere. I'd rather be myself, you know.
No, for sure. Yeah, and that's definitely what it's all about, man. I was kind of a little more reserved when I first got into, academia, working like
Mm.
in labs and kind of doing that stuff. But as time went on and kind of got a little more comfortable and used to it, yeah, I kind of loosened up a little bit more and,
Mm.
more open and stuff. Not that I was like faking personalities or anything like that,
No,
but I
no,
was,
no, no,
a
no.
little reserved and things like
Yeah,
that,
it's not
some of
faking
the
it. It's just holding
appearances
back a
and
bit.
yeah, yeah. And now I'm all out like, you don't like what I wear, so I
I
don't
mean,
care,
I
man. I
mean,
know
I
my
mean,
stuff.
all out
So
is an understatement. To anybody watching or listen, or if you're listening, you'll be missing out on the beautiful face I'm sitting across from. But imagine this guy hanging from hooks playing drums, because that's what he sent me videos of him doing the
yeah.
last weekend. Like going all out is an understatement for Robert. Like he goes
Yeah.
all out.
No, that was an amazing time too. Yeah, I love the suspension world, man, and
Yeah.
that trips a lot of people out too. And
Yeah.
beyond even just the tattoos and in
I mean,
general
I've seen it
conversations, like, oh
live
yeah,
at
I like to hang
conventions,
from
but that's
hooks.
about it. I've not done it myself, but I've seen, a fair few people do it. I've spoken to people doing it, and they seem euphoric when it's over. Like a lot of people get a high from doing it, it seems.
Oh yeah, oh totally, man. It feels so amazing. It's such a kind of a cleansing feeling afterwards
Hmm.
too. I analogize it a lot to people. It's kind of like coming off of a psychedelic experience, off like
Oh,
DMT or psilocybin or something. Just kind of that wash away of all that like emotional buildup and negativity and stuff, and you just feel like, oh, like I feel awesome. Like I feel so
hmm.
renewed and revived, and it's
I mean, I've heard some people speak about the theory of how the pain of it, so to speak, especially when you get used to it while because it is painful, I imagine.
yeah, yeah, it's a
It
little
sort of grounds
painful
you
for
in yourself
sure.
in a way. It sort of brings you back into your own body in a way, because you can't
Oh,
really
totally.
get away
Yeah,
from
yeah.
it when there's meat hooks in your back or in your thigh. Or
Yeah, right.
I mean,
No,
I've seen
yeah,
some
and that
gnarly hangings. Hangings, is that what you would call it?
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
suspensions, I guess. Yeah.
suspension. That's the better
Uh
word. Thank you very much, Robert.
yeah.
That's a way better word. I've seen some gnarly suspensions, at least compared to where people get the hooks in. My
Uh-huh.
personal one, where I almost couldn't look away and at the same time couldn't look, was a woman getting it in the upper area of the chest,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
just started looking like her. Sorry to be crass here, tits were gonna be ripped off at one point. Like
Right,
I
right.
get that they won't, but it looked so fucking
The way it looks, yeah, with
like
that
something was
pulling and
gonna
stuff
tear, and
and
I'm just like, it just looked 10 times worse than when it happens to a man in the pectoral area, because I just think it's just looser tissue, to put it in a weird way. Like it's not as tight to the bone structure, you could say.
yeah, yeah. No, totally. And I've never gotten off the ground with my chest. I've done some pullings
All
through
right,
my chest, but it's such a rough spot. I don't know if
I
I could actually
imagine.
get off the ground through my chest, but I've done a few other positions, like just by the back. I've hung by my
Uh,
knees upside down,
uh,
sitting in like lotus position, and then like a chair
mm.
position on the top of my legs. But some of the formations that people do, man, is it's incredible.
I mean,
Some of the
there's a day.
positions throw people
Uh,
up in the chord patterns that they run. It could look really awesome.
I mean, you're the second person I know personally by now that have done this, and the other one was Robbie, but he was in an accident, so he lost his leg due to the accident he had with his. I think it was due to the suspension accident that he wasn't hung in his leg, but the way he sort of landed after the suspension sort of went wrong and he sort of got flung.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
this was a couple years ago.
Oh, long? No, no,
That
way longer
this
ago. More than a couple of years ago. No, no,
Oh,
Robbie's.
okay. I might be thinking of another one. There was another big
Yeah.
incident where I think it was either the knot gave out or the rope broke and the guy actually fell and he broke his
Wow.
leg, snapped it.
Well, I'm
That's
just
why,
saying it's not without its risks, but I do get the appeal for those that are into it. It's definitely not
yeah,
for
right.
everyone, though. Definitely not
No,
for
no,
everyone.
yeah, for sure.
This one you would never talk me into. I'll tell you that much. But it is fascinating to talk about because it's sort of I get why it comes along with the territory in the body art world, so to speak, both regarding
Yeah,
piercings and regarding tattoos and that. There's a reason why it's still, you still see it around at conventions and that because it sort of fits with the
yeah, yeah.
whole doing your own thing and treating your body like your own experience in a way.
Yeah, totally. And it's such an ancient practice too,
Mm.
man. That's still even practicing in some indigenous cultures and stuff.
I mean,
And
you make
kind
it
of
sound like people enjoyed the whole being pulled apart by bulls thing in Roman Colosseums.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
man.
I know
And
it's not quite that gruesome or graphic or anything like that, but I mean, I would highly recommend, speaking as the guy who doesn't do it myself, highly recommend people go and watch it because I think people think it's going to be this gory affair with lots of blood and that. You'll be surprised how
right.
at most of them you barely see any blood.
Yeah, yeah.
You'll only see
You
blood
might get
if
a,
you
a
want to
couple
go and
little
look at them
drips and
pulling the
trails,
hook
but
out again, basically.
yeah.
I
No,
mean, that's at
totally.
least my experience with it. The most blood you see at a suspension is when the hooks come out.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you'll get a couple, drips and trails with them in and stuff. But yeah, once you kind of pull them out and you push all the air out of the skin and stuff, you're kind of really, making it bleed a little more. But yeah, other than that, it's not too messy, really.
Is that why you don't have any back tattoos as such? Because you want to have a free spot for the hooks?
Yeah, no, I haven't got to my back yet, but
No, I
that
get
is on
that.
the
I get that.
list. Yeah,
That is a good bit of tattoo real estate, as we say, and you do want to
right.
put
No,
something
for
good on
sure.
there when you have the money for it and the time to
Right,
get it
right.
done.
Yeah, I've had to go through my tattoos on my arms a couple
Oh
times, and
man, but that's the
this the
thing. Like,
scarring's really not too bad though.
oh, okay,
Over time, and you do it
so it
a lot,
doesn't
you'll start
ruin the tattoo as such,
developing
or
them. A little bit.
okay.
Nothing too major for being able to kind of touch up a little bit
Okay.
though.
Because it's not
Uh,
like it's not fucking gigantic hooks. Like it's not gonna make a fucking inch wide like gap in the
no,
skin. It's
yeah.
it's it's a it's like a 5 millimeter thickness, right? Like
Yeah, rather six to, they get up to pretty large.
okay, fair enough.
Yeah, yeah, but there's a range of them, but they're not, super gigantic.
No, no, it's not gonna
Uh,
be like you're missing a chunk of flesh afterwards. Like
yeah, right. I mean, you could tear pretty good depending how hard that you go too, and some of the placements and stuff, but
hmm,
it's not too bad. Yeah.
no, no, no. So what
Um,
what what do you prefer? The pain from that or being tattooed?
Man, probably the pain from the suspension, the tattooing pain, man, that gets super painful.
Yep.
And it sustains for a long time too, especially once that
Yeah.
surface kicks in, man, it's like game over.
Yeah, that's what
And
I still do it without, much of any assistance pain wise and stuff like that. But it does get really fucking painful.
yeah, yeah. And it's funny too, because a lot of people they think like, man, you must love the pain from this stuff. It's like, dude, I
Ooh.
hate the pain. The pain sucks, but you can get over it, and
The
tolerate it and
hangout's
stuff. But it's
nice,
not
but
like
the
I
pain
like it.
sucks. I mean, I fucking
Yeah, for
love the
sure.
hangout with a day session and stuff like that, but the pain sucks.
Yeah, yeah.
But
So,
it
oh
just,
man, my whole neck and stuff, that it was
I
shit.
imagine
It was
so.
so brutal. And I mean, even the palm of the hand, man, the
I
palm
hear that's
I actually
bad.
thought I thought it wouldn't be that bad. So, you're like, oh, this is pretty thick, tough skin. It's not gonna pull. I was sweating bullets, dude.
I mean, the general rule, as far as I know, is that the more nerve endings you have in an area, the more painful it's gonna be.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Which is a bit different from person to person, but the hands will be painful on anybody.
Yeah. Oh,
Like,
totally. Yeah,
I
it was
never
that
met
was
anybody that can handle anything on the hands without it hurting.
yeah.
Like I've met no one that gets any kind of tattoos on the fingers or hands or palms that go like, oh no, that was a piece of cake. It didn't hurt at
Yeah,
all.
right. Yeah, I fell asleep during it. Like
Nah, fuck. Ooh, let's not go down that path. I fucking hate when I meet people that say I fell asleep because they never got a big tattoo. It's so rare you meet somebody that says that and they got an actually large tattoo.
yeah, right. Yeah, I always laugh when people say that stuff, man.
I met
So
I
it was
met
a
someone
breeze. I
recently
always
that said they
fall
fell
asleep
asleep while getting
inside.
their ribs done, and they only had a like 10-minute tattoo there. And I'm like, hey, even on the ribs, the first 10 minutes isn't that bad. Like,
Right? Yeah, yeah.
but get back to me when you've been there for a couple of hours on the ribs. Like,
Right, right.
that's
I'm
still the
dreading
worst
that spot
spot.
still too, man. I haven't
Yeah.
gotten my ribs done yet, but it's
I know
coming up
people with
soon.
face
And
tattoos that don't want to do the ribs because they're too painful.
yeah.
Like they've gotten close, and that was my third tattoo, getting like one rib done.
Oh, geez. Yeah, yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, the side of the head was pretty gnarly.
Okay. I hear that's pretty all right, actually. But there's so
Yeah,
many
I mean,
different opinions
it
on the side of
wasn't
the head.
too bad. There was some areas that was worse from it. When we started doing all the white and stuff at that
Oh,
very end, that
right.
was probably the worst. That first hour or so actually wasn't too bad. But again, once that kind of initial soreness kind of sets in and stuff, and then you're really kind of doing that fine detailing and kind of packing in some colors, it's it can be a little rough.
I imagine so. I have a curious question, Robert, because I know you've already gotten to this point, and you and John sort of share that like that's how far you've gone up in this area. Would you ever get anything in the actual face area?
Maybe. I guess I won't say no, but the probability is probably pretty low on it. I'm
Yeah.
definitely going to be doing this side of my face.
Hmm.
But like as far as like direct full face, probably not. I have a scarification that I did across my
Okay.
nose and face, just like a couple band lines and stuff. Um, I might do like a small forehead piece or something,
Yeah,
scarification.
I would get that. I could get
Um,
that, you know?
yeah, yeah, but as far as like tattooing wise, I would probably not. Maybe a little bit of trails that come a little bit closer into the face, but
I sort of get that.
uh,
Like that's sort of my limit too. Like personally, I probably won't go further than here one day. But
right.
but uh, I get a lot of people getting this bit done as well. Like that just looks
Uh,
cool on some people. Like it just
yeah,
does.
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah. Especially when the pattern's done right and chose
oh
right, and
yeah, yeah.
it fits the
Compos
contour, and it looks
Composition is
just so
everything in
awesome.
those peculiar areas. Composition is everything, man.
Yes, totally, totally.
It's gotta flow with your specific like bone structure and stuff like that.
Right, right. No, for sure. Yeah, it took me a long time to figure out what I was going to do for my head.
Oh,
And it was actually originally not even my idea. It was my mentor here in the lab, Brendan. Um, and
damn.
so I guess funny side story, I was talking about like changing my hair one day because I've had the same hair for like 15 years. And he was joking around. He's like, you should cut a mohawk, man. And I was like, really? You're telling me to do this? It's kind of funny. And I mean, Brett was super cool dude, another metalhead, kind
Yeah.
of loving person. But he was saying it half joking, and I was like, I could give that a try, actually, and I figured, shit, if it looks like shit, I'll just grow my hair back. No big deal.
Yeah.
And it kind of stuck. And this was like 4 years ago now, 5 years ago. But man, once I did that though, and I saw that open real estate, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I see a head
Well, that's
tattoo
the thing. I don't even
soon.
do the full mohawk like you, but when I've freshly cut my haircut, usually it's a skin fade on the side, and I also just look
Yeah,
at that and think like, you know what, a crown of tattoos around the head, that would just be great.
right. Yeah, yeah. You start seeing that real estate, man, and thinking about it. And
That's the thing,
it took
like,
a couple years though of contemplating it, like, am I gonna do this? What am I gonna
yeah,
do? And kind of figuring all that out.
yeah,
Because I mean that's it's a sensitive area to do
I
that,
can imagine.
So you don't want to just like randomly just go pick something and looks like awful.
I
And
do you ever think about like how people are gonna view you at work when you think about what you're gonna get done, like image wise?
sometimes, yeah. Not to the extent of that I would like not do
No,
anything,
no, no.
but when I did my head, I did kind of think of that like, ooh, like is this gonna be pushing the boundaries a little much? But
Am I pushing the
my
envelope
boss,
too
my
far?
PI was all
What
just
was
like,
the
dude, that
nose
looks
just the start?
amazing. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh man, it's yeah, been I started my nose at like it was like at a 2 gauge, and I'm at a half inch now.
Yeah, I
And
would say that
but
the funniest thing I saw on your profile, because I always do a bit of stalking and research with before I have a guest on. The best thing I saw you do was even better than any scientific refutal of the non-maskers during COVID, was you
yeah.
talking about how, hey, if you can't breathe with the mask on, couple of
Oh,
gauges here, man.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really funny. And it does, man, I can breathe really well,
Well, I don't have any piercings, especially not gauges in my nose. So, you never think about, oh, wait, yeah, they must be able to suck air in through the holes.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
You never think about that when you don't have it yourself. Plus, you must be very keen on keeping the blowholes fucking clean as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I'm constantly blowing my nose and cleaning it and
I mean,
stuff.
not
And
to
because
be
I
not to
mean,
be gross, but that must be a dread if you ever go on I don't know if you have a partner, but going on a first date and somebody points out you have a booger, but looking through your window.
yeah, right. No, totally. And that's why I try to keep my nose clean and stuff. Cause I'll catch it in the bathroom sometimes. I'll see like a little glob through. I'm like, shit, how long has that been in there? Like people can see that. Yeah,
I mean
totally.
that's a different problem for having the stretches in your earlobes because there's not going to be much globs or anything like that going on.
Right, right. Yeah, man. And I probably won't go too much bigger on my nose. And I'm pretty much like at my goal
All right.
that I kind of set for it and
But I
stuff. I
think
think
that
any
goes a
bigger
lot.
will start getting too much. But
Yeah.
at least for me, there's a few people out there that I mean they're
Yeah.
pretty big.
Well, I mean, to
Which I
each their own.
respect totally.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I think that's what happens a lot because I've just the latest episode I released at the time we were recording this was about tattoo addiction, which me and Matt both think that's not real because it just seems there's a lot of things both within psychology and sociology that would suggest that that's just not real. Like that's more thing people
Yeah,
say just to explain to others why they like tattoos so much when if they have a social circle that don't know how to handle that or you feel ashamed about it. But that
right.
aside. I think that we often find both with tattoos and piercings our own limits to how far we want to go, and we are actually better than people care to explain sometimes at sticking to those. We might change how many tattoos or piercing we want in that area, and our opinions and our goalposts may move now and then. But generally speaking, we do sort of end up creating our own like end point, how far we want to go with these things. Like for example,
Yeah,
with your
yeah.
nose piercings, you saying you don't want the actual face done with tattoos, for example, but no, you want to get something here. That's still, setting your own. Because if it was truly addicted, you would just be like, well, that's filled up. Time to do the face. And then when
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
filled up, you'll be like, oh, time to do everything again, and then again and again. And even the
Right.
people I've seen that do that, like I think Puerto Rican journalist called Yalsi, he's done the same fucking bodysuit 3 or 4 times or something like that, and even the face. But the thing is, even he does never says he's addicted to tattoos. He just likes tattoos a lot.
Yeah. Right.
And that's
Yeah, and
but people can watch that episode if they want a further explanation of that. But my main point here is just I think we develop those end goals. We like sort of figure out where do I want to take this? How do I want to look?
yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, and kind of the way I look at it, I guess, is more, it's not necessarily an addiction for me. It's more that like I have a plan and
Yeah.
kind of a
That's what I
plan
mean.
and a
Yeah.
journey that I have set for myself.
Exactly. That's what I mean. That's not an addiction. That's us having a passion and wanting to see like, okay, we're going this far and we're gonna see how long that takes us and what we're gonna put in those areas and what tattoos we're
Yeah,
gonna get and
yeah.
what artists we find. People don't plan, for example, the substance abuse like that.
Right, right. Yeah, and then I mean you get some of the people that go to the far extremes that I mean they look so awesome. But there's a
Yeah.
guy on Instagram, Black Alien Project,
Yeah.
and a few of them, they have their whole nose removed and cut off their
I think he has some
ears and
fingers as well
freaking
removed as well and sort of that.
yeah, yeah, a bunch of like face implants. He removed some of his fingers,
Uh,
and just totally
but
extreme.
again, even though
And
that
but
seems
it's
like an addiction or a psychological problem to people that don't know any better, that's still just his end goal and him trying to reach his authentic self, as I see it, at least as a
exactly,
sociologist.
exactly.
And his end goal may look incredibly extreme to a lot of people, even within the tattoo world, but that's just he's different from you when you look at him,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's so many, the
Yeah.
totem pole goes high on extremities
I
and
mean,
stuff.
the thing is,
And for me, I'm way down here, I
yeah,
think.
exactly. And you got and whenever we find new ways of modifying the body, you will find people that want to push the envelope and see how far they can take that modification type because it's new.
Oh, totally,
And that
totally.
doesn't mean that they're crazy or anything like that. It just means that they found the thing now because a technology was discovered that they actually needed to look the way they want to look.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I can't remember who kind of said this many years ago, but they were kind of making the point between modification and mutilation.
Yeah.
And modification is very, positive and reinforcing and building, building up, to where mutilation is very, detrimental and negative, and the total opposite
Well,
aspect. And some, I guess it could be a slippery slope on how to couch that, but for some of the people that just do it out of getting tattooed out of spite, or they're angry or something, just get something ridiculous that they end up regretting in the later time, is can be kind of couched as mutilation or
yeah.
something. Or
But
but
again, I'd say as a social scientist, I mean, it's not my expertise area, but I would say as an embodiment sociologist, the two immediate differences that come to mind is that mutilation is often done with harm as intent, in some
exactly,
shape or other,
yes,
and also often, even when done by the person, mutilation is done to the person and not for the person. Like
yes, yeah,
it's not done with an intention that this individual is gonna enjoy it or they're gonna be on board with it. It's done as a form of punishment often
yeah,
in one shape or
yeah,
another. Uh,
yeah,
and
exactly.
that's the thing. Even people that do it to themselves often do it with self-harm in mind in some shape or other. So I would say that's the biggest difference. For example, with your gauge, you see some people that would claim, like people that are more conservative and against both you and I and how we look, that would come up to you and say, why have you mutilated yourself like that? That would be a misunderstanding on
Yeah,
of the term mutilation, because you've not done it
right,
to harm yourself. You've done it to be more authentic to yourself,
yeah, exactly.
which is modification, you know,
Yeah, yeah. And I
changing an
mean, and even
appearance of
some of
thing.
these gauges they go back so, it's such an archaic practice too. It's not a
Absolutely, absolutely.
modernized Western thing or something.
And
These things
just
go
like
back
tattooing, it's been
3,000.
found everywhere in the world. Everywhere in the world.
Yeah, yeah. No, for
It's,
sure. And it's amazing. And that was honestly one thing that really attracted me towards that, was
mm.
kind of that ancient archaic aspect of body
But
modification. Beforehand, it was more like, oh, that I kind of had that back when I was like 18, I was like, had that rebel kind of aspect towards
like,
it and
fuck you,
stuff.
dad.
But yeah. But once I really got into like anthropology and
Yeah,
shamanic practices and pain rituals, it really opened up a totally different viewpoint and world for me,
yeah.
that I had a totally different
A different appreciation.
respect and appreciation, to where I actually wanted, to those were kind of the reasons that led me to
Yeah,
modify myself the way I did. When people ask me that stuff, like, how'd you get into this? And I always kind of go back to ancient shamanic practices and
yeah.
stuff that I like to associate even though, my tattoos aren't like a tribalistic
No,
thing,
no,
but the
no.
premise of it is rooted in ancient, human ancient culture,
In a way,
ancient
yeah. I
human
mean,
culture
at
and stuff.
least it arcs back to that, going through the annals of time, you could say. Even if it's not, I mean, I'm an atheist myself. I don't find anything shamanic about it, but I can still see the draw lines back to those practices, even with the more self-expressive way we do it in, at least in the modern societies of the West. But,
Right.
but, but a lot of, what was I about to say? Oh, I lost my own train of thought there.
I do that all the time.
uh, but, but I would say it's all about how you want to go about it in a way also.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's
No, for
and
sure.
I think there's a lot to say about this. I always keep to go back to just like one of my idols, Michael Rees, a sociologist from Britain. This quest for authenticity, like it is really what it's about. Like it's about knowing how you want to be and figuring out a way to do that. And modification is that. Like it's changing an appearance of something and for us with body modification, it's changing our body to fit who we are in here and our
Yeah,
own
exactly.
idea of that, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And that could be super beneficial for people too,
Oh, absolutely.
on such a wide range of things, for, you know, chronically depressed people, or some other mental disorders, that kind of transformation really helps out that mental state in the end,
Absolutely.
makes them feel better about themselves, or more comfortable in their own
Yeah.
skin, or,
I mean,
whatever it may
often it's sort of a disconnection and disjointment from yourself that causes a lot of mental issues for people. So to being more connected with yourself and who you want to look like and be, that helps regain some sense of control, a better sense of self, and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. No, totally. Uh yeah, for me it's always been like, again, it's been a journey, and I always feel not necessarily better in the end. I feel, more complete, I guess,
Yeah,
each
no, but that's the
modification that I
thing.
start going through, I kind of build myself up, in
Yeah.
completeness on how I want to, represent
Uh,
myself, I guess.
I I like to liken it to the idea some sociologists pointed out regarding the body and identity, that the body and identity together are inseparable and they are a continuous project for every individual. Like you're never done
Mhm.
with it. It's throughout your life you try to make the body and the identity fit with one another.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
just do it
No, definitely.
way more hardcore than most people.
Yeah. All right. No, yeah, it's great stuff, man. And if that helps people with that, that's
Mm.
it's amazing.
But it could also, Leia pointed out, which I don't, before we sort of round off, I want your opinion is Leia sort of pointed out that she felt she could be way better at her work as a scientist after she sort of made this commitment to herself and became a tattooed person, getting her sleeve done and other tattoos and all that. And she felt she actually became better as a scientist and science communicator as well, because she was more true to herself and not wasting energy and effort, you know, trying to manage this impression people wanted of her.
Yeah, no, that's an amazing point actually, and kind of have the same feelings about that. So when I kind of started in the lab in my academia career, coming into it as heavily modified as I already looked, I had to kind of work extra hard to, make myself respectable
Right.
in that sense, and kind of work, extra harder than I guess normal looking people would have to do just from that initial perception, and
Yeah.
because there's that first judgment kind of thing, like, oh, this guy, look at he can't know that much, look at him kind of thing. And
Yeah.
so I always yeah, strive myself to work harder and to make sure that I look respectable, not look respectable, but that people view me as a respectable scientist. And
Yeah.
and so yeah, all my modifications I think really kind of helped make me push that a little bit harder. Not that
Yeah.
I wouldn't like work hard already if I
No, no,
didn't
but it's
modifications,
easier when
but
you're not caring about how other people view you, but just being true to yourself to just leave all the energy for actually focusing on science and research and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah. And and it's been great. It's kind of funny, like when I go into conferences and stuff, and
Yeah.
that initial kind of look, the last one that I gave a little lightning talk, it's like a quick 2-minute talk that kind of
Yeah.
overviews your poster and stuff. And before that, I was kind of walking around and I could see people, and this is full of like really prestigious like doctors and clinicians and
Mm.
stuff. It really wasn't much of a science-based conference, but so I have all these prestigious doctors and very suit and tie, just very, proper people. And then
Yeah.
here I am, like big old gay just walking around. And I could see that they were a little weird, but then I get up there on stage to give my talk. And as I'm looking out, I could kind of see like, oh shit, this guy's actually he's fucking talking. And he has a poster and stuff. And the moment I go into my speech, like everyone's jaw just kind of like, oh shit, like this guy really knows his stuff. And then afterwards, I get down and I got all of them coming up to me and talking to me and
Yeah.
like interested in like my poster and research and kind of really just changed that
It
perception.
also
But
helps make an impression being tattooed and modified.
yeah, oh, you definitely stand out and makes it super memorable. That's for
Yeah.
sure. And but prepping for that and just making sure I'm working extra hard to
Yeah.
not fuck it up in a sense. But yeah, yeah.
Right. Before we start another podcast on prep work, another episode on how to prep for conferences, we better round it off. Oh,
Oh,
you okay,
oh, I got
Robert?
to. Yeah, my battery was about to die. I
Well,
had to plug it in. My computer battery running
ju-
pretty
it could we could almost
dies
have
pretty
timed it.
quick.
We could almost have timed it because we were about to round off as well. But on a lighter note here at the end, I sort of want to ask you, what's the next project? Piercings or tattoos or what's the next body mod project?
Oh, hold on. Sorry, I got technical difficulties going on here.
Oh shit.
Um, okay, I could hear you now. Sorry, the speaker cut out on there.
That's okay, no worries, Robert. Well, what I was asking was here at the end to round us off on a lighter note. I wanted to ask you, what's the next sort of project? Is it going to be a new piercing, a new body mod, a new tattoo? What's on the horizon for you? What's the next thing you're gonna do?
So I'm working on my arm sleeve, getting that all finished up.
Hmm.
And then the next big project is I'm going to be working on my leg. I
right.
have my leg super blacked out right now. I still have another layering of black to do. But what we're going to do is go through and then do scarification on it.
Wow.
So it will be the scar over the black kind of back negative
Yeah.
spacing and a bunch of geometric patterns and stuff. And we're going to do the full leg sleeve in a blacked out scarification.
Fuck, you know.
Um,
I mean, that sounds
and
intense.
it's going to be pretty intense for sure.
Very, very suiting to you, I would say. Very, very suiting of you.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of really is kind of my piece that brings me back to that
Mm,
ancient aspect of scarification
yeah.
and tribalistic practices for that matter. And yeah, it's going to be my full calf, totally black, and then all cut up with a bunch of geometric patterns.
Damn,
Yeah.
that's gonna be something, man. Oh, they do say scarification technically was older than tattooing because that's sort of what led to tattooing, some anthropologists believe.
Yeah, yeah,
That they were making scars and then figured out, oh, we can put stuff in these and then make them last. Like,
yeah, right. No, for sure. And yeah, it kind of started off as that you know, social status kind of stuff, and even tribal discernments between tribes, have certain markings, and this tribe has a certain marking, and then just kind of evolved from
yeah,
simple stuff like that into to full-blown art forms that we have today.
it's amazing, man. Right. We're at the end, so what's left to do for me is first of all, thank you so much for being on here, Robert.
Thank you
It's
for
been
having
fun.
me,
It's
man.
been awesome having you on, and I can't thank you enough. It's been fun how these things develop, getting in touch and then figuring out later on that you're gonna be on here. It's been great.
Yeah,
And,
definitely.
here at the end, please, if you have any projects going on or just want to let people know where they can find more of you, please plug yourself, as the kids would say.
Yeah, so my main page is on Instagram. The name is modified_scientist. I don't have a TikTok or Snap or anything like
Neither
that.
do I.
I got a Facebook, Robert Schafer. But yeah, Instagram is mainly the place where I'll put all my science and kind of fun tattoo and suspension.
Oh, that's a lot of stuff on there, a lot of fun stuff as well. Well, that happens. I mean, I'll call out the technical bit, but yeah, I mean, we know where to find you, Robert. Despite technical issues, we get to say goodbye to Robert now as well.
Yeah. So, yeah, my computer thought I was like, no, at least it was right at the end, but
Right. Like I said, thank you for being on, Robert. And to anybody listening or watching, we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Hello, everybody. Thank you for watching this episode. And I know it can be jarring, but I had a haircut and a beard trim since I recorded the episode itself together with Robert. But anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this episode. I always love giving people an insight into scientists and academics and how we, almost more so than some people that aren't in academia, love tattoos as well sometimes. And we can still do great science in any of our fields, even if we are covered in tattoos or piercings, or in Robert's case, tattoos, piercings, heavy body mods, and all that stuff. Just as many others I've interviewed for this, Matt Lotter, John Brosius, Beverly Ewan Thompson's, all of them. They're all academics, scientists in their respective fields, yet they also love tattoos, and that's the message I'm bringing, that tattoos doesn't make you any less of a scientist or expert in your field, whether you're a plumber or you're a PhD, But enough of that. Next time, I'm talking to a legend in the tattooing, Pamela Cavallo, from Wild Isle Tattoo, which we also get into why it's named that. And for the DC fans among you, I can confirm there is a DC reference, so to speak, in the artistic slash studio name there. But yeah, together with Pamela, I talk about expression and voice in tattooing and why it's so important to find your own style, but also what you have to take into consideration when trying to develop a personal style in tattooing and how you go about it and all that sort of stuff. And there's a bit of the female perspective thrown in there as well, because there are some differences there now and then. But it's a great episode. We get really into it, me and Pamela, and I enjoyed interviewing her a lot, so look forward to that. And a last little note for this little bit extra long outro. I am also, and this is a spoiler for anybody who actually watches the outro, going to turn the podcast series into a book, which is sort of the new main purpose of these interviews, sort of a new experiment with open source qualitative research, you could say. It's not funded by anyone. It's nothing like that. I'm just my own personal project, and I hope to turn it into a book that might help people see what I'm trying to actually show people with this podcast. So yeah, I will be reaching out to all my participants, especially when we get past New Year's, to try and get consent from them to be in the book as well, because I'm not going to put anybody in the book that might not want to be in it. But yeah, see you guys around.